On this episode of Build Season, we're going to see if we can't revive this 66 Ford Thunderbird, get it back on the road. It's been sitting for a number of years. We know nothing about it. We're going to see if we can't get this thing to run and maybe even drive home. So Sam and I were driving around last weekend and we stumbled across this. It's been sitting in the front yard here for a year and a half or two from the previous owner, but this thing is actually surprisingly clean. This is a 66, I think this is a Landau, if I have that model right. But decently clean car. It does come with a vinyl top. The vinyl top, other than being a little bit worn from the sun and weather, is actually in surprisingly good shape. One of the best parts is the interior on this thing. I mean, look at this. Door panels. It's a bucket seat car. It has a very interesting feature on the steering column. If you look here, the steering column actually tilts out of the way to make it easier to get in and out of the car. It's got a wraparound rear bench. Headliner's flawless, except for that little piece of trim hanging down. There's a bunch of indicators there. This thing is super neat. All right, before we get to what's under the hood, take a look at this. This is one of the largest trunks I've ever seen. I can't believe it. I think it could fit 2, maybe even 3 bodies in here. This is all the factory trunk liner material. I mean, this car is amazingly solid. Nothing suspect in the trunk though. I don't see any water pumps or ignition components or anything like that. All right, so release the hood on these. It's way under the front bumper here. All right, and there, as some of you will probably be relieved to see, is a 390 FE. That's right, for some reason I can't seem to escape these FEs. They pop up all over the place for me. But I am told by the previous owner that this is an all original numbers matching car. So according to the VIN, and we did some research, this is a 390 10.5 to 1 4-barrel engine rated at around 315 horsepower and 417 pound-feet of torque. These could also optionally come with a 428, which is a super cool engine. It's essentially just a larger FE, and those things made ridiculous torque, like 460 foot-pounds or something like that. Crazy. But this 390 should be more than enough to move this car down the road. Might as well just see what we're up against here. Well, things look very clean in here. And the previous owner did tell us that this thing ran a year and a half ago, so it's not like it's been sitting for a very long time. Yes. I think this is a Holly, but an OEM Holly. However, this is true to form. 4-barrel, vacuum secondary. Right, so it is actually a Holly OEM carb for Motorcraft. So that's actually pretty nice. I think we have a fighting chance. And I believe it's all free. Yes, it is. I can even hear the accelerator pump. So carburetor looks like it's okay. Brake master cylinder is zip tied on, so that means that we're not going to look at it. Actually, my better judgment is telling me that I should check the brakes. It appears that we have pedal movement, not a lot of pressure, so a big surprise there. There is one spot of rust though, right here. I don't know if you can see the ground underneath that, but we have lost our driver floor pan, so this does need to be fixed. Other than that, this thing is actually incredibly clean. Check out this column too. Literally snaps into place so you can get in the car easier. Look at the dash. Man, these gauges are cool. We know this thing has run recently. Let's see what it has in it for oil. It has oil. Yeah, it's a little overfull, but it is there. Trans fluid. Alright, there's something on the stick, but it's not going to show us anything right now. Usually you have to check these. Yeah, hot idling in park. So if we get it to run later, we'll double check. But there's at least something on the stick. Oh, interesting. So unlike the 390 that was in my truck, these have a engine mounted expansion tank. Kind of neat. So you fill your radiator from here instead of from a fill cap on the radiator itself. And it seems like this might be low. Yeah, might not have anything in here. Expansion tank is dry. Well, we'll address that in a minute. We'll probably just grab a jug of water and fill this up. This is interesting. So this brake master from there may look like it's a single pot master, but in fact there are two circuits here. So that is actually encouraging. That means if we lose brakes on one circuit, we still have another circuit to save us before we crash. It looks like these zip ties were, I was hoping they were conveniently loose enough to where we didn't have to cut them. They are. Nice. Somebody was thinking. Ooh, dry master cylinder. Okay. Ooh. Alright, so like I was saying before, this is interesting. It's actually a dual circuit master. You can see the second circuit there down there is a T, and then here's the line for, I'm not sure if that's front or rear, but they do share a reservoir, and this one is empty. So I think we're going to throw a little bit of brake fluid in here. I think the owner here actually has a little jug of brake fluid. If not, we can run to Sam's house and get some. We'll fill that up and then pump and pray that we have brakes. Okay, property owner did have a jug of brake fluid, so we're going to throw a little bit in here, and I'll pump the pedal and see if we get any sort of pressure. Alright. Okay. Not feeling anything on that. I guess we'll just sit here and try to pump these a little bit, see if we get pressure. Maybe. I feel like I'm feeling a little more resistance in the pedal.
There are a few bubbles coming up every time you pump out.
Okay, this is the wrong way to bleed a master, by the way. But it is the right way to do this without trying very hard. I think I'm starting to get pedal. Alright, so you're on phone vision now. The camera battery is dead, and the spare one I brought is also dead. And we don't have a way to charge it really fast. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to put the jump pack on this thing. We know that it rotates. Previous owner let us know that, so we're not going to pretend like it's been abandoned forever. Alright, jump pack is live. Do you want to try and crank it? Oh, hang on. Alright, try again. Oh yeah! Fires right up. Oh man! This thing sounds excellent. Okay. I didn't happen to catch, see, look at that. I think we're actually pulling fuel from the tank. It does not look very good, but might mean that our fuel pump is working. All right, Sam, go ahead and fire it up again. Oh, I did see our fuel pump looks like it's pumping. Go ahead. Hold on. All right, try it again. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. All right, we're back. We have a battery that we borrowed from Sam's Dart, so we at least have power. See if this thing fires up again. Then maybe we can get an alternator. Then maybe we can get a meter on the battery, see if the alternator is working. Here we go. that could be from bad gas. Alright, it's running, but I'm pretty sure we're on battery power only. Yep, no alternator, battery power only. We're gonna try and get this thing out of the hole. It's on gravel right now, and I dug a little bit of a hole for us, so Sam's gonna push. Hopefully we can get it to some higher ground. All right, back on big camera battery power now. This thing just moved. That's right, it moved 15 feet, but that's further than it's moved in at least a year, maybe two. Brakes actually came back. I'm pretty impressed with that, but we are on only battery power. So I think I'm gonna close the hood and take this for a short lap around the block. Just listen for anything else. Might have to do something with that floor pan. I'll show you. So this is pretty much the only significant rust on this car that I found so far is this floor pan is completely gone. So I'm thinking this is going to self-clearance as we drive. Just to give you guys a slightly better look. Clear coat on the paint is peeling. That's fine. Look at this. Rear quarters, rocker panels, front and rear of both wheels. We have the fourth wheel cover, it's in the back. Look at the vinyl top on this thing. Freaking awesome. Okay, I'm excited. I want to take it around the block. I just wanted to highlight this again. This is what has been dubbed the Fat Man steering column. This whole steering column actually slides over to the passenger side when you get in to allow you to sit down, you know, so that your belly clears the bottom of the wheel here. And then lock her into go mode here. And now we can experience full 390 power. Okay, here we go, maiden voyage. Oh yeah. All right, here we go. And drive. Oh my goodness, it's missing. It's definitely running on 6. But look at it go. Oh, there it is. Might need a little trans fluid. Look at this. Oh man. Oh dude, this thing rides ultra cush, even with the hole in the floor right there. Let's check the brakes before we get to that. Oh my god, the brakes are good. Oh yes, we have brakes. The transmission might need fluid. Check this out. Power windows. Look at this! Power vent windows! Oh! Now where's the one for the actual window though? Is it this one? Your window works. This one here? That is a no on the side windows. Okay. Well, before we lose battery power, let's go. I'm afraid to go to third, but I think it just shifted to third. Oh man, glides over the bumps. Oh, that's my mirror. Okay, blinkers. Hey, look, can you see that on the hood? There's a blinker indicator on top of the hood. I think it's running. running on 6 right now. floor though. I get wet when we go over puddles. Gotta put a floor in it. I'm now hearing a ticking. Do you hear that? Yes. Exhaust leak? Or infamous FE valve train? Certainly sounds like a lifter tick. Our oil pressure is on the low side. Or if it's just because the oil got warm. Oh, there it went away. Ah, we had a lifter that wasn't pumped up. I think. Cool. Alright, quick trip around the block, and I think we have maybe a lifter that's refusing to pump up or something like that. I don't want to run it too much longer, but this thing just freaking ran and drove around the block. Incredible. Okay, so our goal for today anyway, is just to get this car out of here. We're going to drive it over to Sam's place, that's not far, and then probably load it on a trailer and bring it back to my place. There's a few other things wrong with this, and this is what happens when you're trying to do a revival in the middle of the week and you got to work tomorrow. Let's see, you're going to fire up this time. And I definitely have what appears to be, or sounds like a lifter that's unhappy. Oh God, the first stop sign. Actually, these brakes, they feel pretty good. Kind of impressed. I don't think this transmission is that happy, but it's doing it. I can't believe it. Look at this, 40 mile an hour, cruising along. See the road down there. This thing actually cruises sweet. All right, just a couple miles down the road here. We're still cooking. Seems like everything is okay. I think our fuel gauge is not working, but speedometer works. I think we might even have alternator. We'll have to check when we get home. So far, we're just cruising along. This thing does actually stop pretty good though, for having a master cylinder that was almost out of fluid. I think we also have a vacuum leak. Pretty cool that there's an indicator on the hood to tell you if your blinker's on. Look, our side window started to work. Oh my God, we have windows. Woohoo! All right, we made it to Sam's place. The Thunderbird actually runs and drives okay. However, the main thing that is concerning me is the engine noise. We have lifters that are unhappy. So I think what we're gonna do is pick this thing up, drop the oil quick. Sam's got a jug of 2050 that I'm going to reimburse him for at a later date. The other thing is our charging system is still not working. It's the middle of the week, and trying to do revival stuff like this while you have a full-time job is tough. Those of you watching probably know that. I still want to see if I can drive this home because I didn't bring a car up here. I got a ride from Sam. Our options are drive it as far as we can on this battery, and or maybe the alternator is working, or probably a better option, bring a second battery and try to get this thing home tonight regardless. We checked, all the lights work and the brakes are working perfectly. So I think we're gonna drop the oil right here, put some 2050 in there. Hopefully we can get those lifters to calm down a little bit, and then we'll reevaluate whether I'm driving this home. Okay, here we go again. Oil pressure is coming up. That's better than it was, for sure. We'll see if that lifter tick goes away. Alright, we'll see if that lifter noise is going to come around or not. Unfortunately, I don't think so. We do have much better oil pressure though. Okay, so seems like our lifter is unhappy. Dang it. Well, as you can probably see here, maybe we have almost no oil pressure at idle, even after putting fresh 2050 in here. You can hear we still have lifter noise. So great. I think this 390 needs a freaking oil pump. Okay, so we got the car unloaded at my house and it wasn't ticking anymore. So we took it out for a drive, and of course I forgot we're running on only battery power. So when we lost headlight power, I went to the Harbor Freight magnet light just like I did on the Jeep. And look at that. I think that'll work for a headlight to get us home. Just listen to this. Literally no more ticking. I do not understand what's going on, but whatever. While the car is still running, we're gonna get it back home. Good morning. So I parked this car overnight, let it cool, tried a few things today, added some oil and stuff, and I finally took the driver's side valve cover off because that's where the noise was coming from. It was really bad. And wouldn't you know it, there is our problem. Right there. Notice the rocker is here and our push rod is over there. So after speaking to a local FE expert, shouldn't say local, but spoke to Kevin, and he reminded me, or enlightened me I should say, that FE engines are very, very prone to bending push rods. Considering that this engine likely sat and maybe had, maybe had some valves that were sticking, maybe had a rocker that was a little crusty, or a lifter maybe. Yeah, the push rods are the ones that often lose that battle. Voila, there you go. Need some push rods. I also noticed that this push rod right here has a little bit of play, and so does that one. On the passenger side, there's nothing to report. This actually all looks okay over here. I think as a temporary measure, I may pound this push rod flat, reinstall it, and see if our noise goes away. Here's our newly straightened push rod. I have a brand new one coming from O'Reilly's that'll be here this afternoon. But in the meantime, I'm gonna swap this back in and just see if that ticking goes away. All right, so I know I'm gonna make a huge mess, but let's just see if that damn ticking is gone. Look at that. This thing's running clean and quiet. You can see we've got a few other bent push rods. There's one. There. There's our other bent one. Other than that, this thing actually seems okay now. Alright. Heck yeah. Alright, that didn't even make that big of a mess. That's good. But we definitely have another bent push rod right here. Oh yeah, I can see it. Yeah, she's bent. Might be a couple of others. It looks like right now, at this very moment, our horrendous ticking of the valves is done, but it also would be quiet like this for, 20 minutes or something while it was running, while it was warming up. So maybe I'll let it get a little bit warmer, throw the valve covers back on, idle it a little bit more, and make sure that noise doesn't come back. I found a bottle of Berryman's here, and I threw that in the tank. I think this entire tank is full of bad gas, so maybe a bottle of Berryman, run this thing for a little while longer, try to get that all the way up through the lines, up to the front. I still need to pull that carburetor off, but they didn't have a kit in stock for it at the parts store. All right, never mind, I lied. Oh, wait, our noise is back and then it went away. Must be lifter pumping up. All right, trying to get this carburetor to run a little bit better. And you can probably see, maybe, down in there. This thing is just dumping fuel right out of the booster. So I think either the float is set up too high and or needle and seat is stuck or blown out. All right, welcome back inside the shop. I decided to upgrade from working out in the blistering heat next to my shop, so I made some room inside and pulled the car in here. Don't pay attention to this. This is a super clean RPM air gap intake I got for a 351 Windsor, which is awesome. It's going on that engine over there. This is the roller motor that will someday go in the F100. Before I go too much further with the carburetor, I want to try to see if I can get this thing to charge. I'm sick and tired of charging the battery just to run it for a few minutes at a time. The voltage regulator for this is bolted right to the core support here right behind the headlight. I'm going to pop that out. I had a very similar, if not identical, unit that I got from the F100 that the engine came out of that we used for Power Tour. I'm going to try this first. If it works, great. If not, I have a new one I'll try next. If none of those work, then maybe either the wiring or our alternator is bad. There's a chance this one is junk too. Non-zero chance. But let's try it anyway. I know that this is just delaying the inevitable of actually having to troubleshoot this, but this is fun and easy. Let's get the pocket socket. I know you shouldn't, don't repeat that. All right, new used voltage regulator in place. Let's give that a shot. If I were my meter, where would I have put myself? Ooh, pretzel brake. Solid 12.57 volts on there right now. See what it reads when it's running. .35, 12.36. We should be getting like 13.5 to 14 volts. Yeah, we're choked, that's why. Huh. Okay, still no charge. We'll try the new one. New voltage regulator in. 12.30, still no charge. All right, so it's likely not our voltage regulator. Done a little bit of troubleshooting here. I do have constant power on the regulator, I have switch power on the regulator, and I have voltage on the field wire. Changing regulator didn't do anything. We do have power on the back side of the alternator. It's potential that the alternator is junk. I do have a spare one. I'm gonna try that one first, because then maybe I can return the new one I bought. If not, I'll put the new one on. All right, alternator liberated. Should be able to sneak it up here. I have this alternator, looks almost the same. Let's try and get this one up here. This is the alternator off of the donor engine for the Thunderbird. I believe it was working when it was on there, so I don't know. Might not be a bad idea to give it a try. All right, the new used alternator is in. Belt is tight, pulley alignment looks fine. All right, let there be charging. No charging. You have full 12 volts on the field though. Wonder if the regulator's not grounded. Oh, oh, might need to give it a little less transfer slot. Did you see that? All right, still no charge. So, two bad alternators. I'll swap the new one on and we'll try that. Okay, new alternator is in, wired up. Got a new voltage regulator in there. Got power everywhere we should have it, unless there's something I'm misunderstanding. Let's see if it charges. Idle circuit is clogged, gotta clean that carb. Hey! 14.5 volts! Yes! All right, so I in fact had two bad alternators, my used one and my old one, whatever. Woo! All right, that's awesome. So inside the car, still my favorite feature is the power wing windows. These are so cool. Powered passenger window works. Driver's window. Oh my God! Yeah! Ah! The driver's window works. It must not have had enough voltage to even run the motor before. Oh man, this thing drives so nice. I can't believe it. 55 mile an hour ish. Maybe not, a little less. Oh man. This thing is so cool. It has like the coolest interior. Gauges are so cool. I don't think the charging gauge works. It's never moved. Look at that. Probably can't see it, but we have blinker indicator that works now. Oh boy, this windshield is way too dirty for this. Ah, I can't see a thing. Ah. All right, at least it's got window visor, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I just got to keep your feet up. That's the road right there. Not a big deal. We'll fix it. All right, so that actually went really well. However, you might be able to hear it now. Got another tick. So I'm wondering if we have another push rod that's bent. I have several spares over there, but it's also hunting and it's leaking fuel out of the needle and seat. So without further ado, I think it's time to go through that carburetor. Steve, good morning. Look who it is. You know what that means, right?
We're gonna get something done?
Time to get something done, yeah. So this morning, we're deciding to divide and conquer on the Thunderbird here. I'm gonna pull the carburetor off. That thing looks disgusting and is leaking out of everywhere. While I'm doing that, Steve's gonna pull the valve covers back off. We have a few replacement push rods, as I had straightened one of those out, but that was more of a test to make sure I could get the engine quiet. So he's gonna pull valve covers and replace push rods. I'm gonna rebuild carb. All right, let's get this crusty crab out of here. Ooh, look at that. Ugh. I mean, honestly, the thing ran okay for being, you know, disgusting as it is. Oops. Wash the paint with some fuel. So here we are with the built for Ford Holly 4-barrel vacuum secondary. I don't know much else about this, so I'm not going to pretend to know. Oh my God, did you see all that? Oh, yeah, how much can you guys see in there? There's a good bit of crud in here. Spray this out, throw a new needle and seat in it. It's got solid floats though, that's kind of cool. Look at this. Secondary bowl full of rust. Gross. Yep. Ooh, wow, the whole bottom of this covered in rust. Gross. Spray this off too. Huh. I think miraculously the accelerator pump diaphragm is okay. However, since I am this far in, I'm going to replace it anyway. Well, there's all kinds of crap underneath the accelerator pump check ball there. I'm wondering if that has anything to do with why this thing had an accelerator pump like every other shot. Alright, so that piece of junk in there was actually the other side of the check ball retainer. That's wonderful. I don't know if I can just shove the check ball back in there or if we need a whole new bowl. So I had this 2-barrel Holly off of the donor engine for the F100, and because I ruined And because I ruined the retainer for the check ball on this accelerator pump, on this bowl, I figured I would look at this bowl over here, and believe it or not, it is very close to the same. The float is hung from the opposite side, but it does have the accelerator pump, and that all looks the same. It should go onto the front. It'll just change the fuel inlet location right here, which shouldn't be a problem. We have a flex line on there anyway. So my plan to use the bowl off of my 2-barrel over here, that was foiled because that's a 2-barrel bowl. I should have known better. There's no way to connect the tube that connects the front and rear bowls. My bad. Whoopsie daisy. So that's not going to work. I think my next plan is I'm going to try to solder the little check ball retainer into the accelerator pump cavity in the bottom of this bowl. And if that works, then we can just swap this one back on and continue forward. But I'm going to try that first. All right, this is something you definitely shouldn't do, but I was able to add just 2 little dinky pieces of solder in there to hold that brass retainer in there. It looks ugly, but it's stuck. I think just to retain the check ball for the accelerator pump, I think that's going to be just fine. We're going to try it. In the meantime, I'll probably be looking for a used Holley 4-barrel like this so I can get another bowl. All right. So our carburetor is slightly rebuilt, mostly. One thing I did do is I set our transfer slots to a square. May be able to see that if it'll focus right there. So transfer slots are set to square on this thing. Everything else for adjustment wise we should be able to do with ignition timing and the idle mixture screw. Off camera, Steve's been working really hard over here. He found and replaced a couple of the bent push rods from the driver's side. Now, I had already found one of those. He found another one, but now we have new ones. So we replaced the bent ones. We're just putting the valve cover back on this side, and then we'll peel that base gasket off, throw the carb on there, hook up the fuel, and then see if this thing runs any better. All right, newly rebuilt, mostly carburetor. A little more. Oh. Stop. Shut it off. Okay. Nealon's seat is stuck on the secondary rear bowl. All right, try it again. All right, stop. I wasn't filming that whole time because new YouTuber stuff. No, I can't claim that anymore. I've been doing this too long. Regardless, we ran it a little bit longer. We found one push rod that is a little bit loose. I don't know that it's bent, but it could be a little bit collapsed. Maybe bent, but we can't really see it. Either way, it's not spinning as fast as the other ones are. We're going to put one new push rod in that hole, run it one more time, and as long as it's good, we'll throw valve covers back on, maybe take this thing for a rip down the road. Whoa, take a step back. It's dangerous. Just kidding. So putting the valve covers back on. The loose push rod I found was actually a good one. So it's potential that we have a wasted lifter on that. Once we're done with this, we'll do an oil change and put some thick oil back in it because there's like a mixture of ATF and all kinds of other stuff in here because I was chasing what I thought was the stuck lifter. So we're going to do an oil change on it and see if our noise gets any better. You guys missed it at Iola. I got some of these knee pads. These suckers are like 2 inches thick. Actually, sorry, 4 inches thick. Okay, yeah, I got you guys. It's like laying on a mattress on here. You know, it is sort of astounding the puddle of fuel that's collected under that carb, huh? So what we're doing right now is we just turn the electric choke all the way off. I'm not sure if it was working 100% anyway, and I don't know, most of the cars that I run around on with carburetors, I don't run the choke anyway. So they start a little bit hard. You got to pump the gas a few times. It's kind of the way carburetors are.
What's the floor dragging on the
Yeah,
ground?
that's just
Nothing to see here.
look at that. 55 mile an hour. Other than the floor dragging on the ground,
Nothing to see here, folks.
yeah. We could tape it up so it's a little quieter in here. That's better, huh?
Whole new floor.
Oh,
Luxurious now.
oh man. Look at that, third gear. Feel this thing just wobble over the bumps. All right, back out here again. Off camera, did some more fiddling with the carburetor, and we are in fact going to need a front bowl or a primary bowl. I got a replacement one coming from O'Reilly. It'll be here in a couple days. Otherwise, ignition system, new plugs and wires seem to be working really good. This thing is running pretty darn quiet. I might have a fix for a lifter tick on this side. Other than that, engine and drivetrain and brakes wise, this thing runs and drives really good. Because it's hot as balls outside, I'm going to keep this place locked up tight, try to keep the AC in here, and we're not going to run the engine anymore. We're going to get to the main detractor of this car. And that is this custom ventilated floor right here. Man, this interior is killer. You got to hand it to Ford in the 60s. This was awesome. Like black vinyl buckets, chrome trim on the side. These seats fold forward. I want to show more of the interior, but we'll wait till it's all cleaned up. Have I mentioned how low this car is? Holy crap. Yes, I know I could probably jack it up. No, I probably won't. Because then what would I have to complain about? Oh, interesting. I believe I took the stud out of the subframe. That's going to be fun. Put back in. At least it came out. Okay, so good stuff actually. 4 for 4 on the seat studs. Now they came out of the body, which is fine, because then I can pop these free in the vise, get them all cleaned up, and then I can put them back in so the seat's got something to drop onto. Yeah, we'll just separate the carpet, which seems to be the only thing holding the seat in now. Ah, yes. Oh. All right, one mint condition Thunderbird seat. Wow. Just to make this a little easier, I think I'm just going to finish cutting the carpet because it's all ripped right up to that pedal. And I might have to do some repair on that throttle pedal itself. Very good. The carpet is kind of taking the throttle pedal with it. So that'll make things interesting. Gonna have to put that back together. Better look at what we're dealing with. So rear section of the floor, transmission tunnel, and everything is all good. The seat bolts in, everything's fine. It's just right up to it here. Essentially, the front square of this floor needs to be redone, including up by the throttle pedal there. That could get a little interesting. So I'm gonna get in here with the shop vac, suck up as much of this crap as I can, and then get a real idea of how much metal we need to remove yet, and then we'll start fitting a patch. So as usual, things always look worse than they are when you first get started. So there's a lot of loose hanging metal in here, but I can see floor supports right there. We have the lip from the kick panel right here, and yes, we need a little bit of work. We need a little bit of work on that kick panel as well. So I think what I'm gonna do is go to town, start trimming, get as much of this old crap out of here, see what we have to work with underneath, and then start piecing it back together. There you go. That's what's left of that big ugly mess. Not much actually. Makes it a little easier when it's almost completely gone. Very quickly becoming one of my favorite ways to pop spot welds is to put a couple of cuts in the rusty stuff, get under an edge, and then just start popping it as much as you can. If the metal's rusted real bad, it will actually separate and it'll leave just a little bitty piece of the spot weld behind. And that's really not too bad to grind off later. So I just get started like this piece right here, and I just kind of work the edge along that flange with the air hammer. Sometimes it'll bite and you might have a little bit more material there, but you can kind of work along the edges like that. Try not to push down into it too far because you might actually punch that chisel right through the flange on the support structure underneath, but this method does work pretty good. It might be a little more crude than professional bodywork stuff, but for what I'm doing, it seems to work fine. So I've got things trimmed about as good as I'm going to do it. Using a poster board or tag board, whatever you want to call this stuff. It's from like Hobby Lobby or Walmart. They're like $1 maybe for a pack of 3 or something. I'm going to use this as a template. Shove in here, trim this up, and make a floor pan piece. This stuff is kind of nice. Now obviously this one's crinkled, but stuff is kind of nice because you can put a fold in it and it'll hold that fold as if you're trying to mimic like a break in the metal or something like that. So I don't think I'm going to do this in one huge piece. I think that'd be way too much work. I'm going to focus on putting the flat piece in first, and then I'll make these little patches here along the trans tunnel and the kick panel, kind of meet up to that. Here's the beginning of my template. I've got these little humps cut out here for where it meets up with the seat support, and I think I might leave that edge just a little bit long because it'll actually meet up with the trans tunnel pretty nicely. So I think I'm going to get this thing traced out on a piece of sheet metal, cut it out with the plasma, and then tack that thing in, and then come back and fill in the little holes here under the pedals. So to cut this out, using my cheapy Jegs plasma cutter, it works awesome for stuff like this. You can get the consumables on Amazon. I think this is a cut 40, so it'll do like 3/8" thick steel plate, which for me is pretty much heavier than anything I'm ever going to do. I use it for sheet metal a lot because it's quick. Just like that, we have the beginning of our patch piece. So obviously, if you look close, I'm gonna have to come back in here and clean this up with the grinder, but you're gonna have to do that anyway. Plasma cutters create slag, so that's like this stuff right here on the back of the metal. That's contaminated with all kinds of crap. It's not gonna weld very well. So you have to grind it all off anyway. I usually leave my lines a little bit proud so that I can grind to them. Seems to make things a little bit easier. Anyway, I'm gonna clean this up, fit it in the car. So before I fit this in the car, I'm gonna put a brake in it here on the line that I made right here. Probably just gonna use my vise. I have a cheap sheet metal brake, but I hate it. I need a better one. So I'm not gonna use that one. I'm gonna do this like you guys would with a vise in your garage. And voila. There's our brake. You can throw some holes in this to spot weld to the inner rocker, just like factory. So let's give this a fit. All right, this thing is actually fitting really nice. So I'm gonna pull this back out, rust coat everything with rust reformer and weld through primer, and then punch a bunch of spot weld holes in this, and then we'll get ready to tack this in. And for my next trick, I'm gonna weld this like I do everything, carefully. So here's what it looks like after welding. It actually fits pretty good. I know I got to fill in around there and put a piece in there. A little bit of oil canning, whatever, you'll have that. But this thing actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to make a template for that piece. and a little sliver here, and I'll be back. All right, so here's a look at the finished product. Now, this is not perfect by any means. However, I did this pretty quick with just flat sheet metal over there and a plasma cutter freehand. So I'd say it looks okay, and it's gonna keep the outside out. It's got a little bit of oil canning going on. I'm okay with that. I am gonna paint and seam seal all of the welds, both underside and inside the car. Then I'm gonna paint the floor pans, and we've got new carpet on the way. All right, it's the next day. Still waiting on carpet, still have to seam seal and stuff, so I'm gonna solve that throttle pedal right now. So this is what's left of the original sheet metal screws that held this thing to the floor. I think I'm just gonna cut them off, set this thing back in place, and run 2 new self-tappers right through the floor, just like Ford did. And as Ford themselves did, we will use the Lord's fastener right here. There we go, throttle pedal reinstalled. It's been a little bit, let me catch you up. This thing, the lifter tick came back on the driver's side, and I tried a few things to fix it, including buying a longer push rod, thinking that maybe if the lifter was collapsed, that I could make up for that distance with a longer push rod to try to close the gap between the rocker. But what I noticed is when I put the longer push rod in, the engine started to run funny. So I was thinking that maybe it was holding the valve open. Anyway, FEs are great for one reason and one reason only. You can take a lifter out. You can see the bore of the lifter right there. You can take a lifter out without removing intake manifold or cylinder head. That's pretty cool. So if you look at this lifter right here, I believe it is stuck, collapsed, and will not pump up. So because I care about this engine so much, I pulled a lifter out of that 351 over there, wondering if maybe they were the same. And, oh, they are not the same. This lifter is just a little bit taller. Darn it. That sucks. I was gonna say I could maybe swap a lifter in from this 351. Otherwise, I can order just one for this engine. Maybe see if I can't get that one unstuck. Now, just because I'm super curious, and these lifters look very similar, but obviously not the same, I'm gonna see if I can't disassemble the FE lifter right here and maybe clean it out, try to get it to move again. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't know. Might be worth a try. Oh, and there goes the Jesus clip. It's gone. Luckily, it looks like it's exactly the same as this 351 lifter. Aha! So if you're curious as to what the inside of a hydraulic lifter looks like, so this cup is essentially what the push rod rides in. So that's all that does, right? Is it holds the push rod. This piece right here is the hydraulic cylinder, or the hydraulic lifter, essentially the hydraulic portion of this lifter that moves up and down. You can see there's the oiling hole right there. So this guy gets oil through this port right here. That guy gets oil through that port, and it lifts up inside the cylinder here to take up the distance or the slack or the lash in the valve train. So I think something is up with this lifter. It was stuck, or it was sticking or something. So I'm gonna pull this all apart and clean it, see if I can find anything funky. All right, so underneath the cylinder, I guess if you want to call it that, the hydraulically operating piece, you have a spring and like another cup. But look at this. That spring is broken. That is why this lifter failed. It is junk. Look at the broken springs. So I think what I'm going to do is take this 351 lifter apart and see if it has a similar spring mechanism in the bottom. Maybe I can put this FE lifter back together, put it back in the engine, and then hopefully we will have quiet valve train without having to order any parts. Okay, I've got the 351 lifter taken apart and the FE lifter, and I think I can use a couple of pieces from the 351 lifter, such as the spring and the little spring seat here at the bottom. right there. I think I can just transfer that over. And actually, I'm going to use the entire plunger assembly out of there with the check ball, because there's a check ball so that this lifter can pump up and stay pumped up. So I don't see why not. I'm going to try it and see if I can assemble it, and I'll put it back in the engine. And if it runs any worse than it does now, then I still need a lifter. All right, there you go. There is our FE lifter reassembled. And if you look at that lifter cup, or that pushrod cup, it is all the way up to the retainer now. And I probably won't be able to show this too well on camera, but we do actually have about 60 to 90 thousandths worth of depression on that spring. So, I don't know. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. I'm going to try it. All right, let's give this a try. I got that, you know, hybrid-ish lifter in there. Whatever. Let's see what it does. Uh-oh. Let's give it a minute. Let some oil pressure get to it, maybe. Figured I'd try it with that longer push rod too, just to see if I can find a combination that'll get this thing to quiet down and run good. So I still think I need a new lifter. This thing is not running perfectly. You can feel it missing. I think that longer push rod is still hanging the valve open. And now we have some spark knock going on. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. Very, very strange. Okay, so we got back from that drive, and I don't know if you guys could hear it, but I can feel it. It's missing. So we do need a lifter. I'm going to order one, maybe a few, just replace the one that I know is broken. My somewhat genius trick with the 351 Windsor lifter parts did not work. Oh well, I got to order one anyway. All right, back out here the next day. So one of the last things I wanted to address on this Thunderbird was the paint. So this right here is kind of the state of the paint. Most of the clear coat on the trunk is worn away. This is what's left here. The rest of this is just raw paint. The sides of the car, it's not as bad, but on the tops of the fenders, tops of the doors, and of course the hood, there's a bunch of peeling clear coat. So I'm going to try and re-clear this car. I've watched enough pole barn garage to be dangerous, so I'm essentially a certified body man. First step though, I got to get this thing clean. It's disgusting. Okay, power washing done, and man, does this thing look like a polished turd. Holy cow. The paint is worse than I thought. The remaining clear coat is so chalky, you can hardly tell it's clear. This is the kind of stuff that I'm hoping to fix right here. You can see where the clear coat is chipping and peeling and stuff. So that's what we're after. We're going to try to scuff this, get it all as smooth as we can, and then shoot some clear right over the top. Now, as I mentioned, I've watched enough pole barn garage to basically be a certified body guy. So if anything goes wrong with this paint job, I'm blaming Dalton. It's your fault. Speaking of Dalton, he's told me to start off with 400 grit, wet sanding this whole car, focusing on the areas where the clear coat is chipping or peeling. So It's gonna be a while. I don't know if I need to film all this. You guys pretty much understand. I'm gonna wet sand the whole day in car. But when I get to some of the tougher stuff where the clear coat is chipping, I'm gonna try to feather that as much as I can to make that edge almost non-existent. All right, so the key to wet sanding a car is to not listen to me tell you how to wet sand a car. So 400 grit on a foam block. I just have a bucket of water, dunk, sand, repeat. This is gonna take a while, but my goal is to try to get this as smooth as I can, and then we're just gonna hog clear over it and hope for the best. I'm thinking that when I start to see color coming off on the sandpaper, that's my indication that, okay, I don't need to go much further. I don't want to take the color off the car. I just want to smooth out the clear. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's something like if you add water to your sandpaper, it doubles the grit. So it'll make this 400 act more like an 800. But the water also keeps the paper from loading up. So as you can see, I got into that color just a little bit based on the rag here. But the idea is to try to do as little damage to the color underneath and attempt to feather the edges of all of this clear coat that's still on there. Right now it still feels pretty chunky up here, so definitely need more work in this area. But that's essentially what we're trying to do, is to get this surface to be as even as possible so that when the clear goes on, it doesn't look absolutely terrible. Behold, the weather chicken. So honestly, wet sanding this took, I don't know, probably 3 to 4 hours. And all I was going for, it's going to be kind of hard to see this on camera, but all I'm going for is when you run your hand over this, can you feel the transition to the existing clear coat? You can see this is a pretty good example. I actually went over this quite a bit and I feathered the edges as best I could. Now there's still a little bit of this, you know, these tiny little pock marks and stuff. Not a lot I'm going to do about that. If I keep sanding, I'm going to break into the red, which if you look right here, I broke through right on this body line. That's my bad. A couple other tiny spots I did that, but overall, the car is pretty darn smooth. So I'm going to get this thing outside, power wash it one more time, bring it into the spray booth, either right here or over there. Get this thing masked off, get ready for spray. Even though it's all sanded up and stuff, looks rough. This thing is a cool looking car. I like how low slung these are. It's pretty good. So there it is. It's washed, ready to go. We're gonna mask it, wipe this down with some Prepsol or something similar. I think I have a wax and grease remover here, and then mix up some clear and hog it on there. Now, I know I'm spraying this in a garage with other cars sitting around, and I know that there are a million things that I could try to do to mitigate getting junk in the paint, but honestly, the paint isn't that good to begin with. What I'm doing here is just trying to preserve this car for as long as I can to put off the full paint job. So, it is what it is. I'm gonna go over the whole car with this wax and grease remover. It's not Prepsol, I know, Dalton, whatever. It's what I had laying around. I'm gonna wipe the whole car down, kind of let it flash off for a little while, come back and wipe it dry. I may have to do this a time or two because there is still a good bit of paint or wet sanding residue left on the paint. So get to this, be back. There you go, you'll get an idea of what this thing will look like with a good coat of clear on it. All right, it is finally time to spray. Everything is masked off. We've wiped the whole car down with wax and grease remover and let that dry. We've come back a few times with clean sets of rags to wipe off as much dust and crud as we possibly can. So here's what I'm using for clear. There's a local automotive supply. Literally, the name is Automotive Supply. I went there and got the most basic 2-part clear coat that they have. And this is just a 4-to-1 clear. So I'm gonna mix it up 4-to-1 at about 16 ounces at a crack to put in my gun. The gun I'm using is the Harbor Freight Greenie. Yep, this is an HVLP gun. I think these are like 20 bucks or something. I used it on the Datsun to spray the rockers and it worked okay. I am by no means a good painter, but it works good enough for me. This clear calls for 2 medium coats with like a 3 to 5 minute flash time. So I'm gonna get my fan right, then I'm gonna try to do a medium-ish coat, which I love that they say medium because I don't know the difference. I'm gonna coat the whole car, wait 3 to 5 minutes, and then coat it again. And we're gonna see what happens. So all of this work and time and wet sanding and masking and everything could all go to shit in a grand total of 15 minutes.
All right, well, here goes.
All right, so here it is, Sunday night. Car's been drying for an hour, hour and a half, and the paint is actually dry to dust in 20 minutes, according to the jug. So this thing is actually dry enough where we're gonna unmask it right now. I don't wanna let it get too much further for fear of, ripping some paint off. Welcome back, it's the next day. It's hot and sweaty. Off camera, I took this thing outside, gave it a wash. I have a few other things I want to do detail and refurbishment wise. I want to recondition that vinyl top. The vinyl top on this thing is in pretty good condition. It's just faded, especially on the top where the sun hit it a whole bunch. So it kind of doesn't work if the paint is finally shiny and the vinyl top looks all crappy. I just washed the car, I'm gonna let that dry. While I do that, I'm gonna seam seal the floor, get a coat of paint on it, get this thing ready for carpet and the seat. All right, for this, I'm just using good old-fashioned DE 1635. Same stuff I use for all kinds of things. Just gonna coat everything with that. Everything that's been welded. And I suppose I'll probably do the whole floor pan since it's all raw steel. So here, I apologize, I lost the audio on these clips, but I'm explaining here that seam sealer is the concealer for unskilled welders and has been for years. So just wanted to get this pan sealed up, and while that dried, I went to the passenger side and pulled the seat out because I had to get the carpet out from that side as it was kind of destroyed. And this seat was actually rusted to the carpet, which took a little bit longer to get it out of there. But I wanted to start over there, let the seam sealer dry. One of my favorite ways for finding the holes in brand new carpet for seats is to use a cheap soldering iron. But today I don't want to wait for that. So I'm going to heat up a punch with my torch and drop the punch through the hole. I found the holes through the bottom of the car with a screwdriver. I just have the first one poked up right there. Just going to drop this through the hole to melt it, get out of the way of the bolt. That's it. It's been a little while. Actually, it's been a long time. It took me way longer than I thought to put this interior back together, but look at this. Fresh carpet, seats are bolted back in. This thing is looking nice. We still need to deep clean the interior, but for tonight, I think I have two things I want to try and do. First one, I want to try to recondition this vinyl top. I don't know how well this will show up on camera, but you can see the light spots here. I want to see if I can get this to look decent again. Also, I think I got some overspray on the windows. I got to hit that with some lacquer thinner. So I'm going to put you on time lapse. I'm going to see if I can't recondition that vinyl top. Check that out. So it might look a little uneven yet as it's kind of soaking in, and this vinyl top was so dry that I could basically do another coat right after I got through with the first one. But overall, holy crap, this car is looking awesome. The interior is looking really nice. We need to clean it one more time, get the overspray off the windows, then wait for a couple engine parts, and this car is ready to go. With part of my yearly allotment of the one and only D-Germ, direct from Junkyard Dick's headquarters, I'm gonna detail this interior. Look at that. With just one little pass of D-Germ, this thing is looking awesome. I think I might have a little bit of help with the interior cleanup, so I'm going to pull off and work on replacing that noisy lifter. So the longer push rod that I put in there, I took that out. This is the brand new correct length push rod. So now all I have to do is fish that lifter out just like last time. It appears it's already halfway out, and there you go. The miracle of the FE engine. You can literally pull a lifter, heads intake, everything on. Pretty neat. So I do have our brand new lifter here soaking in just a little cup of oil. Give it a chance on pump up. So without any further ado, here we go in with the new lifter. I'm just using a magnet to drop it right down into its bore. There it goes. Now I'm going to use the push rod, go in there and hold the lifter in place so I pull the magnet off. All right, lifter's in, valve cover's on. Now with a replaced flat tappet lifter, we are going to have to break that lifter into the cam lobe. We kind of have to do a mini cam break-in just on that one lobe. Rule of thumb is 20 minutes at 2,000, 2,500 RPM. So when we get it going, we are going to run it for quite a while just to get that cam lobe mated to that new lifter. Hopefully everything is quiet and smooth. All right, so it's been a few minutes. I enlisted some help from a true professional when it comes to interior detailing, but just look at the interior of this car. It's unbelievably clean. We threw like every chemical known to man. We put seat conditioner on it, Armor All everywhere, cleaned all the dash and everything. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Unbelievable. So the last thing we have to do is break in that new lifter. I want to take this thing for a spin. Oh yeah. That was our problem, ladies and gentlemen. That wasted lifter was causing all kinds of problems. Our slightly sticky throttle, because of our lack of return spring, is actually helping in this case. All right, I did run the car for probably 15 minutes or so at around 2,000 RPM, and that weak return spring on the carburetor definitely helped get it to stay running anyway. So now that it's good and warm, I'm gonna take it for a little cruise. Oh, this thing drives so much nicer. It's wild. So definitely a bad lifter on whatever cylinder that was. I can't remember. Cylinder 7, I think. Had a squished lifter, put a new one in, broke it in. Now this thing runs smooth, and it actually has some horsepower. Like, I was kind of bummed. I thought this car was pretty slow, and I was like, man, everybody says 390s are so good. Well, it'll get it. Oh yeah! Oh, there's a deer. Nope. Oh no. Literally, as soon as I floor it, the huge look at this right there. Look at you. Why? Why do you hate cars so much? I'm not trying to kill you. Oh, okay. Now that we may have scared them off, let's see if we can actually open this 390 up a little bit. Nope. That's that accelerator pump. Might be a get driving a little bit first and then nail it. this is respectable power out of this thing. That's 65 miles an hour. Wow. Oh, this thing is running like a freaking dream right now. Holy cow. I'm so excited, I can't even tell you. This car went from sitting in someone's front yard as a project that they would get to someday to now it is a beautiful running and driving example of a classic, and it actually gets out of its own way. Oh yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh man! This 390 gets down! All right! Oh, if I would have had one of these in my F100, maybe I wouldn't have swapped it to a 351. I'm kidding. Oh man, good 390. That's what I'm talking about. Oh man, this thing is awesome. I mean, it handles basically like it's a boat. You don't feel any of the bumps, but you also don't feel anything at all. It moves though. Man, this 390 is good. It's a good 390. Well, there you go. We took this car that was previously someone's abandoned project sitting in their front yard, and we turned it into this, an awesome car show cruiser. This thing rides smooth, it has plenty of power, it's nice and quiet. This would be an excellent power tour rig. You can do this too. This wasn't even for sale. I just asked the owner if they would sell it to me, and now we have this, a perfectly functioning, presentable classic. If you like what you're seeing, consider liking, subscribing, commenting, turn those notifications on. If you're interested in merch, check out the link in the description below. If you're interested in stickers and keychains, there's a new link in the description. Check out this website. That's my friend's site. He's selling our merch. As always, thank you so very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.